Good evening. This is a meeting of the Raymond Recycling Committee. Thank you for joining us. My name is Grace Levitt. I'm the chair of the committee, and I think it would be good to just go around quickly for the others who are here and be introduced. And I know we've got another member joining us shortly as well. Sue?
Sue Accardi.
Karen?
Karen Lockwood.
Don?
Don Willard, Town Manager.
Nathan? Oh, you're muted, Nathan. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I was looking right at it. Nathan White, Public Works Director.
Thank you. We have Representative Jessica Fay is on. I'm not sure if she can unmute.
I'm here. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's patience. I am on my way home in the car.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. And we will hope that our other member can join us. I know that Rolf Olson from the Select Board is unable to be here this evening. And we also have Bob Jones joining us. Bob, if you want to introduce yourself, feel free.
Well, I'm just a member of the public that's interested in recycling.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. We'll get started then. Call the meeting to order. And first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our last meeting from February 17th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Sue. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Karen. And any discussion, any questions? Seeing and hearing none, without objection, we've approved the minutes of February 17th. Is there objection? And seeing and hearing no objection, we've approved the minutes. Thank you, and thank you, Karen, for taking those minutes. Much appreciated. As Sue said, they're always excellent, so that's great. Thank you. So we'll get underway. We've got some updates and some things that people have done since the last meeting. First, anything from either our town manager or from Nathan White on any updates from Casella, anything on that front?
Well, we were asked to look into contamination rates on our recycling going into the facility in Auburn for Casella. At this time, most of our contamination is controlled on the street from the guys collecting it. When it gets to the facility, we've had no loads rejected to this point. So there isn't a lot to report on that. The only way to really get right down and dirty into it is do what they call a recycling audit, which is pretty labor intensive. They take the truck and they bring the truck over after it's picked up its route. They dump it on the floor and they paw around in the trash and pick out what's not recyclable and what is recyclable, and then they report back to us. The problem with that is we've got nothing to compare it to. They haven't done any yet out of that facility. I wouldn't recommend it at this point. I think we're at 17%. We're doing pretty good. I think we can do better with educational flyers on our end and train and education on our end on that. Our biggest contamination problem out here on the collection site is the dumpsters. The recycling is less than 50% dumped out of the dumpsters at this point. Without having some kind of control on those dumpsters, I don't see that changing much. And it does get worse in the summer when we come into summer.
All right. Thanks, Nathan. And you had mentioned that before as well, as far as I made a note just myself, some of the issues, some of the barriers to doing a better job of recycling are summer residents being knowledgeable and, or for that matter, weekend residents in some ways to deal with that. The 17% was the rate of recycling, not the contamination, but
correct, 17%. Right. Okay. And how that number's the way they come up with that number is by the total tons picked up, what goes in as MSW and what goes in as recycling. We seem to hover right around January and June of 22. We were at 18%, and we dropped back down to 17% in July and September. And that's basically when the summer people come in and you're picking up more household trash than you are recycling. And that's what lowers that number down to 17. They said that's a pretty good rate. I've talked to a couple of towns around us. Auburn and Lewiston, they're down in the single digits. Bridgeton was up a little higher than that, but they've got a transfer station, so they're handling it. The residents come in and hand them the trash and the recycling, so they're able to control it a little bit better. There's a lot of changes coming out. I mean, everybody's read the article from Wyndham. I don't know how that's all going to work, but that's really all I got at this point.
Well, I thank you for that because if, for one thing, I misunderstood what that 17% was. So 70% of what's picked up is recycled. It's not 17% of households are recycling.
Correct.
So we don't know what percentage of households are recycling because I did find some information, at least I think it was just on our own website, about the percentage of participation. That's a different figure. We don't have an idea of that.
That's a lot of old information. And in talking to Dave today, you got to remember we bid this out to Casella Waste. Geez, Don, what has it been 20 years now? 18, 19 years anyway. Mm-hmm. Back then, they were figuring around 2,600 stops a day, which only 1,500, I'm sorry, a week, and 1,500 of those are recycling. So he said, and this is just an off the cuff guess, he said, pretty much anybody that's got trash out, you've got a recycling, something's there for recycling. It's not 100%, but it's a fair amount.
Good. Okay.
So I think that.
Go ahead.
I think that a lot would help is getting rid of the food waste out of it. We've talked about that. That's going to lower your tonnage, which is going to but it will naturally raise your recycling rates up into whatever tonnage you lose there. And that's considered recycling when you get into the food waste.
Well, thank you. That's a whole lot clearer to me than what that 17% was, because that seemed like a low participation rate, but that's not what it was. It was the amount of what goes into recycling of what's picked up. So that's good to know that we've got many people participating. We just need, as you said, to reduce the waste part of it. And I think
the biggest part is that food waste. I think that, and talking to Casella, I'm sorry, I keep calling them Pine Tree. A big chunk of our weight is food waste.
Well, we've reduced it a little bit from this household because, as I said in February, we've been composting like crazy. So we're getting better at it, but we need more people to be doing that. So we'll come right to you, Don, in a minute. Kathy's just joined us. Kathy, just want to introduce yourself real quick.
Kathy Goslin, and I apologize for being late. I was at my grandson's wrestling match.
Hope it went well.
It did.
Good. Thanks for joining us. So Don, any updates from your end of things?
Actually, Nathan did the research on these items, and so he'll be reporting, and I think Kathy has a couple of items, one that's listed for me. So I may be getting off the hook tonight, but I would like to say that on the issue of compost, I'm all in favor of it. I just don't know the best way to do it. I'm in agreement with Nathan that we need to get that wet waste out of our, overall waste stream. I'm actually impressed with the 17% number. If you think about what you see roadside and the amount of trash that we produce, I think I have nothing to judge it against, but it sounds like a pretty good number to me too. And but I just want to reiterate the idea of let's go after the wet food waste. I don't know if it's curbside pickup or a site. We've had bad luck in the past with having congregate sites for recyclables. I personally like the idea, if it was at all possible, of the town buying backyard composters and providing instruction on how to utilize them. That'd be my favorite, but I don't know. I think getting the waste out of the wet waste out would be a great goal to pursue.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything for Nathan or Don?
Is there any, Nathan and Don, anything you want to, any thoughts about what the article in the Eagle about where Wyndham's going? I mean,
It's gonna come to us eventually, but, you know, in talking to Taylor, anyway, she says that it will be some time, and I think Dave McNally has communicated a similar sentiment to Nathan. So it's not gonna happen in Raymond right away, but it's gonna happen. And so I think later on, Nathan will report on the carts or toters, however you want to look at it, that would be need to be obtained to facilitate that. But yeah, automation's coming. We're not going to be the first town. And it's probably, I don't know if it'll affect this contract or not, Nate. What do you think?
No, it won't. It won't affect this contract. And we've got an extension on the end of this contract. Raymond would be pretty tough to automate the whole town. They've admitted to that and quite clear of that some of it is easy, but a lot of it's not. We've got a lot of roads that people are half, 3/4 mile in, and to drag a 96-gallon tote out to the end of the road, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of dragging. So I don't know. I don't think it'll be in this one or the next one.
So can you clarify the length of the contract? Because I think I heard in the
It's-
budget committee that that's the extension. So how long is
Yeah,
it
it's
for?
3-year. We have a 3-year contract with a 2-year extension, eligible extension on the end of it.
Okay. And so that 2-year extension might be a spot to do some things a little differently,
Yeah,
or it's an automatic?
You might, no, it's not automatic. It's a negotiation point. And you might see some of the town go automated. And I would think it would be along the 302 corridor. That's what Dave was talking about the other day when I was talking to him about it. You'd see a couple of the developments maybe picked up. And there's a lot of, in the pickup, curbside pickup trash, there's a lot of moving parts to this thing right now. And a lot of different, it's changing every day.
And if we were ever going to do it, we need some advanced, lead time, because it's a pretty significant capital cost for the town to get into this. So, I mean, if Auburn hasn't done it yet, and they've been working on it for a number of years, now Wyndham is jumping into it. I think they're going to start with those larger towns. They are starting with those larger towns, and it does work really well. I mean, I'm familiar somewhat with Scarborough's program with my mother there, and it works great. It reduces labor, and I would guess it's probably a good thing from an injury standpoint and safety standpoint. And so it's coming, but not for us first. It'll be the bigger towns.
Okay, so we'll let them figure out the whole long drives and things like that people have and ways around that. There must be ways around that, certainly.
The other thing that they were talking about on I guess it's the chitter chatter on the inside, and they did touch on it in that article, is the recycling contamination, the very thing that we're talking about right now. The driver can't see inside that bin. He doesn't even get out of the truck. And that has been a problem, and that's been an educational problem in a lot of these other towns that are automated right now. So that's something they got to get around, and they're still trying to figure out.
So do they run separate trucks?
No,
So they it's compartmentalized, the truck?
Yes.
it's a split truck.
Okay.
They call it a split truck. Yeah, you said it right the first time, but they call it a split truck.
Okay. But people are dragging fairly large, so I see people with those yard wagons on our street anyway, and they put them in that and roll them out. So, I mean, they're already bringing trash up to the road. And some of those ones with wheels are almost easier to roll with than the ones without wheels. So I don't know.
Some of them are, but we are still going in and out of, I think it's 9 camp roads, 9 or 10 camp roads. And those are where your problem's going to be. There's not enough room for the truck and the toters, and that's where your problem's going to be.
What are they doing now?
They're driving the rear loader truck in.
Oh,
The
okay.
toters are got to be set. There's a little bit to what the toters got to be set on. They can't be cocked off sideways or crooked and sliding down the driveways. It's like I said, there's a lot of moving parts to it.
I gotcha. I see. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on those topics? If not, we'll move on to the brochures and our artist in residence, Kathy.
I just wanted to send stuff out so people could see it, looking at a few different ideas. I looked at what Casella has. And Casella's is similar, but I think it's harder to read. So I guess first, how did people like the logo? I think for most I heard you like the one with the Raymond with the earth with recycle, reduce, reuse around it.
That was my favorite, but what did others think? I know there was some, I think Rolf expressed the idea that was maybe the reduce, reuse, recycle was not as visible there. Was that?
Right. So you could do it with the earth with just the arrows around it. I know Rolf was concerned on how it would copy. I've tried it a few times. It's in a JPEG format, so it seems to copy okay. I just wanted something that when we do a flyer, they know who it's coming from. You know, if it doesn't say recycling committee or anything like that. And in my feeling, it doesn't have to, but if it's Raymond Recycle, you know, that would kind of, people would kind of get used to seeing that. In addition, we did put a small article in the Wyndham Eagle. I don't know if people saw it. It was just, we had space, so it was easy just to put something in to say, you know, zero sort and easy to do. So then I did those 2 or 3 other little flyers, and I was kind of looking at it as saying, to me, a big question that everyone seems to have is what you can recycle and what you can't. And we find, you know, as listening to Casella and them with all the contamination, I think we do have to do a better job of saying what you can't recycle. So thinking of those flyers, they're not polished off yet by any means, but if people like them, I would, you know, see if we could get some copied, put them at the town hall, see if we can get them out through the school department. You know, I know the school does their weekly Friday folders going home, but the last, I know with the fire department talking through the school, the school had stopped letting groups send stuff home. I don't know if they'd let the town do it.
The answer there is most likely no. When it comes to the school, they want to use our media to disseminate information, and we cooperate with the Roadrunner, with electronic signage, with all the media we have, Facebook. But they feel that putting other things that are not school related dilutes their message, dilutes their efforts. So that's a no, I think.
Okay. But we could use, you know, public places, some of the businesses in towns, the library, through websites and stuff. So I just kind of want to get a feeling for where you guys want to go with that. What you liked, what you didn't like.
Well, what did others think? I mean, if it printed well and still showed the reduce, reuse, recycle, I would think that's the best and start just thinking in terms of the 4 R's: Raymond, reduce, reuse, recycle. But again, what do others think? Sue and Karen and
I think, yeah, yeah, I mean, I think we could, any of them would work well. And, you know, I think that the one didn't have the reduce, reuse, recycle, correct?
Right.
So probably we do need that, even though that was pretty. I really love that picture. It was really, you know, really grabs you. But, you know, there were 3 of them, right? I'm trying to find them. I have the ones that you sent out just the other day.
Yeah, there was one that, you know, had the earth with reduce, reuse, recycle. There was one that they all had Raymond in it. There was one that just had the recycling, the 3 arrows that go around. I think we would only want one logo. You could do multiple, but I think one logo kind of, you know, you start to recognize it.
Yeah.
And then I think another one was just a recycling symbol underneath the Raymond.
what do you think, Karen?
I like the arrows with the earth. And I'm just wondering, is there a way, what do you think about putting the words on the arrows over the earth?
mean, the reduce, reuse, recycle on the arrows.
Yes, on the arrows itself.
I can look and see. I'm kind of, online, you go online and search for clip art for it, and there's hundreds of it.
Mhm.
And I was just trying to look at stuff, but I can look for that, Karen.
I think it would be cool.
Don, did you have a preference or you?
Not really. I would go with the, I guess the consensus of the group. I'm told by my wife that I'm not great with colors and things like that, so. I think they're all nice. I try to go with the simplest and most direct one as you would judge it. But I think Kathy's done a really great job, and I'd be happy with any of them, really.
Yep, ditto.
Hey, it's Jess. Can I weigh in?
Please do.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Kathy. I've tried to put together things with clip art, and I know how much time and effort it takes sifting through all of those images. And I would echo what Don said. I think the simpler the logo, the better. People look at things for like a tenth of a second, and we want to make sure that we get the arrows and the town in there. And that's really the only input that I have. But I just I think this is a good idea and a good direction.
Okay. I'll work on that, and hats off to Kirsten at the town hall. She was the one that saved it, did the Raymond for me and saved it into a JPEG. So we'll keep working on that this week and get it out to you guys. Other than that, with the flyers themselves, do you like those directions, or are you looking for something else?
I thought that I myself thought that they were fine. I don't know if there needs to be something that leads them to maybe the Casella website for more details if they have questions, because Casella on the website has a whole lot of information.
Yeah.
If whereas you can't put it all on a flyer. You've got, I think you've got the major information there that people need, but they may have other questions. What about this item? What about that item? And perhaps that would be a good idea.
Well, and I know I looked at Casella's website and they have a flyer. It'd be hard for us to, I could probably get them to put our logo on it, but it had the same info, but it did have, hey, a number if you want to call, check out the website. So that's a good idea, Grace.
What did others think?
I like the first one, the pictures are always good. They're easier for people just to look at, and not have to read. So that was quite good. Although the setting of that is like some of them were really hard to
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But pictures are always good. But the first one I thought was really good too. It was pretty clear. Do's and don'ts. It's funny, we only put like plastic bottles in, right? Is that the only thing that we had in there was plastic bottles? And because they do take tubs, yogurt tubs and all of that. Plus, she said they take pretty much all plastic, which I still can't figure out. But so there's more plastic that they'll take than we have in those.
Right. And in some websites, Sue, in looking at Casella's, they say don't do this and don't do that for some plastics. So they kind of contradict. One of their flyers say, oh, it's got to have the recycling and the 1 through 6 number on it.
That they put it on everything, that logo. That's just a scam, everything. And even if it's really, it's not so much it's not recyclable that there's no market for it.
Right.
So, but, there is more they said they take all the, those little containers that come with salads and at the supermarket and takeouts and stuff, and they're very flimsy plastic. And they said, oh, we take them, but I don't think there's a market for that. So I'm not sure where they end up.
They said they just mix them with the other stuff, and it's such a small amount that they're able to mix it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they do take yogurt, the big plastic heavy containers.
Yeah,
To me, the
Karen,
answer on,
oh, go ahead, Don, sorry.
to me, the answer there is one that I think Jessica has brought up in the past, you know, and it's above and beyond what a single municipality can do, but, you know, there has to be a nationwide, maybe even worldwide view of how we package things, and there are alternative ways to package. I look at, my wife buys yogurt, and I look at that plastic, I have them in my recycle bin, and, you know, all that plastic, and I mean, I think that there must be some, you know, more environmentally friendly, organic sort of container that could be used. But, you know, that's the idea of, I guess, legislating or mandating somehow that manufacturers, you know, develop those technologies and implement them.
Oh, I agree. And I have more of those containers at home because, you know, I have tons of them because I say, well, I'll recycle them, I guess, but they are recyclable, but it's just a waste. I mean, they'll last forever, those containers. I can't imagine them being in landfills without, you know, or if people throw them in the trash, it's just, they'll be around for a long time.
Right.
Karen,
May I?
oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Sorry, and I apologize again. It's a little tricky. I don't want to interrupt
No,
anyone. So thank you, Don. Yes, we are. You know, the state and other states and really other countries are working on that packaging issue. I do want to say, remember the first two words are reduce and reuse. So, you know, there are other points where down the road, and I'm not suggesting now, where we might be able to just ask folks to think about creative ways to not just reduce, but also to reuse some of the containers that can be ultimately recycled. But if you can reuse something more than once, that's also keeping it out of the waste stream longer. And then just on the flyer, I think it's a great idea. I think having multiple access points for people to get those flyers so that they can stick them up on their refrigerators and refer to it is a really great idea. I think even, you know, with maybe rental agents who are doing summer short-term rentals, that might be another point of distribution, just so folks who aren't here for long periods of time also understand that this is a thing that we do in this community. And then the third thing is kind of a wacky off the wall idea, which is, you know, it might be kind of fun to use social media to reach folks that might not necessarily be interested in picking up a flyer. So we've got some really creative and smart people in this town, and I wonder maybe we could do like a little interview type video or like a how-to video, and just kind of, you know, show folks what's acceptable and what's not. Might be just another fun way to reach people who aren't gonna be in a place where they're necessarily picking up a flyer.
Okay. So Kathy, do you mind working some more on the fly? You've already done a lot. Is that okay to?
no,
Just
I'll keep working on that. I think we definitely need to update the town's website. I know last meeting we talked about, you know, what's on the website, and I went and looked, and the recycling info that was on there, I think, Nate, it was probably like 2012 when we went to the recycling rules, I guess, are there. And I think we need to update that, not the recycling, but the trash and recycling. You know, maybe put some on the different town websites, you know, any public websites that we have in Raymond. I know we could put it on the fire department's website, you know, Facebook, I mean, and different that to get the info out. But I think before we push recycling all that much, and I apologize, I was a little late. I know Nate was talking about it. I think we need to figure out what is the absolute goal of the committee? We all, I think most of the committee members love recycling, but it is more expensive for the town to do recycling. And is that what the recommendation we want to make to the select board? And I would say 100% yes, if it wasn't that our trash goes to the energy plant. So it's not going to a landfill, it's going to produce energy, which makes me feel better than it going to a landfill. But I think if we could really educate on the food waste and whether it's the backyard composters or what, and maybe further down the road have a program in Raymond, that's going to save us the money. And that's where I think I would like to see the committee say, encourage everybody that wants to recycle, but also understand that we're getting, no, we're not getting money, but we're getting energy from our other trash that gets picked up, and then work on reducing the food waste. And I think that would be a good mix for Raymond, for the taxpayers to kind of keep a lid on our cost of trash, what we're paying for pickups. That's just my opinion.
No, I agree that, I mean, I think that's pretty clear from certainly everything I've learned, how important it is to be pushing on the composting and reducing the wet waste, the food waste. So we'll talk about that in a minute, or did you want to weigh in on Nathan or Don?
Well, Nathan may say the same thing. I don't want to speak for him, but I think going in, wasn't one of your concerns, Nathan, about rules and policies and clarifying
Yes.
some of the problems we're having and getting something codified?
Yeah, my original, well, what I was looking for in the beginning of this was rules and regulations and on trash collection or MSW collection and recycling collection, getting them into containers and having some teeth in it. Because we've had some complaints from more of the developments, their neighbors not putting the trash in bags, and it's getting strewed all over town and or all over the area, or all over the neighborhood, and recycling getting blown all over the place. Because right now we don't require them to put it in anything. We've asked politely, but I don't have any teeth in it. So that's what I was kind of hoping to come out of this, with some policies on that. Some of that's going to come with later in our conversation here about recycling containers and totes.
Good. You just didn't, you wanted to call it the recycling committee, not the trash committee, I guess.
Yeah.
So it sounds better to be chair of recycling than chair of trash. So anyway,
Yeah.
I think
I understand. That's important to bring that back up to the top again.
they're intertwined, inextricably intertwined, and they relate, to each other. And so that's where we live, though, in the world of trying to mitigate problems and address concerns. And our rules are not very comprehensive or up to date, I think.
Okay.
So it's just one thing. I mean, that's not what you're all probably focused on, but it's our life.
Now I'm putting that down already as probably a next step. And to come back to the next meeting with having looked at that and make some suggestions on that, perhaps. Others' thoughts on at least go ahead.
Does Bob have a hand up?
I didn't see a hand go up.
Bob Jones,
Yep,
you have a hand up?
nope.
Okay. And
Okay.
mysterious hand on my screen.
So what about some sort of a brochure about composting and starting to work on some information about that?
There's a lot of great ones out there, and there's a lot of great YouTube videos that
Mhm.
maybe we find a couple of that we really like. And, we could certainly put the Raymond Recycling logo on it, and maybe I'll look at some of the YouTube videos and maybe send them out to the group. And if we find one that is super simple, you maybe like composting for beginners or something. I agree. Like Don said, a few years ago, we had the composting barrels available at town hall. Maybe when we start discussing the totes and where we're going to do that, maybe we do the same thing with having those, if we could buy them at cost, and that might help.
I think it would help, and if you can get people to do this and reliably do it, I think it would be a worthy investment for the town to make, perhaps, if not in whole and maybe partially. When we used to buy these and charge them completely to the citizens, they were buying them. And so I think if the town gave some level of incentive, that it would, over time, and not a long period of time, pay for these things. And then do something that would not only improve the efficiency of the plant, but it also opens up, if a number of towns begin to do this, it opens up capacity for, additional materials that come in at the spot market rate, which, helps us in terms of our finances. And then, of course, if you're looking at the environmental piece, if you're composting the food waste and using it, for soil amendment or whatever, that's a lot better than trying to burn wet garbage.
Right.
So I'm assuming, and I shouldn't assume, so I'll ask, that this information, once we get it updated and maybe some videos, as Kathy's talking about, and the brochure itself can all be in a section on the town website. And so if that's the case, then that link should also be on the brochure to see the
Yes.
Raymond, Maine website for further information. But who takes care of updating websites and things like that, Don?
And can you run some of those videos on the local channels? That our local channels, like you do run some stuff in between meetings.
How does that all
Running, I'm
happen?
not sure about that, but you could probably put a link to them.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure legally about running them, but you certainly
Okay.
link to them. And if you're interested in recycling, here are some great, videos, and whether they be YouTube or somewhere else. That's a great idea.
And for the website, does that just go through you, Don, and you?
Yeah, I think Sue might still be on here. Sue works on the website.
Okay,
Melissa works on the website. She's new, so I defer to Sue if she's listening as to who would be the best person there.
okay, but it would be,
I am listening. I'm just knitting.
Okay.
But I can actually listen better if I knit. I think I'd have to talk with Melissa about her timeframes and things, but I think that would be a really good project for her. But
Yeah.
I'd certainly help her with it. And we could put links to whatever on there, whether it's documents, other websites like Casella's or YouTube videos or anything like that. We could put links. Dawn's right, though. We would have to be careful about the videos and things that other people make because we don't necessarily have the rights to them. We might have to contact people to see if it's okay if we use them.
great,
The,
thank you.
the adult ed programs that we went to, those, for Eco Maine, I wonder, and they sent us the recorded program. So I wonder if, with their permission, I wonder if those could go on the on our site.
Yeah.
And they had one all on composting, which was very good.
Okay. Karen's had her hand up a bit.
Yes. I'm wondering about the idea of the town having the composting bins available to residents. Is that a first step towards going to garbage to garden? Are we seriously interested in garbage to garden? Handling the food waste? Phoebe had sent us a link to the DEP grants where a grant could be written to get composting bins or to help defray the cost with signing up for garbage to garden.
I think those two things end up in the same place, but if you buy backyard composters, I'm not sure that actually works for the garbage to garden program. But I think when they talk about containers, I'm going to guess they're talking containers that you could aggregate your garbage so they could pick it up.
Yes.
But what I'm talking about is backyard composters that somebody could do their own thing.
I think we probably would do a combination of two. I like the garbage to garden, but when the guy talked to us, he said, well, it might take him a couple of years. They're just talking to Wyndham now. And maybe once Wyndham does it, we could follow suit. But if I compost already, so if I'm a composter, I'm going to use my own for my garden. So I think we could do a combination of things. But if you don't garden, maybe they'd be interested, those folks with the garbage to garden. But I agree, Karen, you know, if we get a direction we want to go to in, we look at the DEP grants and write one. And I think there's probably more money available other places to help with that.
Yeah, right. You know, Kathy, you're right. I was looking at the minutes. So like they're looking at, they're servicing St. Joe's College for many years. So getting big places like that. I mean, I mentioned it to, you know, and for the schools in our schools, if they, you know, if they could pick that up too, that would be something. But I'm not sure how that works with the RSU, but yeah, they're not really ready to come to a small town like this.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, you don't have to be a gardener to compost. You know, it's just people, you know, people might think, well, I don't garden, so I shouldn't compost. But I think anybody can compost. You know, you don't, if you just leave it there, you don't have to, you know, especially if you have a wooded area in your yard, you don't have, you know, but you don't have to be a gardener to compost. Anybody can dig a hole and, you know, put some stuff in there and just leave it there. You know, you don't have to ever, if you know, it looks like a lot of work, just leave it there. And it decomposes over, you know, over the year. But, you know, it just to sort of cut down on barriers for people to think whether they could do it or not, thinking they have to, you know, be gardeners. But it is, you know, good for gardeners, but it's good for everything.
Wait, can I just check on those?
So the bins certainly though help to do it in a, I don't know, orderly, clean, whatever kind of a way, and then use it maybe even just in a flower bed. It doesn't have to be like a vegetable garden. Certainly I'm not up to vegetable gardening just yet, but maybe in a couple of years. So that does lead us right to the schools. So I did just hear back that they are doing the single sort recycling already. It wasn't clear to me that they're doing it in all buildings, and I didn't get an answer back about that. But they are. It sounded like they've been doing that for quite some time. But Sue, you talked to. Did you get a hold of the principal yet?
Yes,
They're right in the middle of budget season, unfortunately, so they're even busier than probably usual. But
no, I emailed and had a couple emails with Beth Peavy, the principal at the RSU, I mean, RES. And we talked about a program, and she said she had thought maybe she didn't know what the staff was doing. She had thought third graders would be a good age. And she had, in a prior school that she worked, Casello had come in and done a program, so she was familiar with it. And I talked to Taylor today, and so they're willing to do it. They'll find the resources to do it. And also what we need to do is I get to get back to the school and see if we can, you know, nail them down if they're interested, and having a little, you know, presentation in the gymnasium or something for maybe the whole third grader. I don't know what, but she says she could make it I asked her if she could make it interactive, you know, have bins and have kids figure out what goes where, so they get up and move around and whatnot. But she had some good ideas. She was very pleasant, and she said, you know, if you figure out a date, we'll help make it work for you. So I just have to get back to Beth and see, you know, if they're interested in doing this. They also do recycle there, but she says they have a hard time doing it in the cafeteria. They used to do the milk cartons all the time, so that may be all they do. But they do have recycling buckets in the rooms. I'm not sure how well, you know, they're used, but they do that. And I suspect the RSU, when they pick up the trash, whoever picks up the trash for the schools, who does that, Don?
Casella, right, Nate?
I believe Casello's got the contract for that.
All right, so they do. Okay, so they're picking it up. Okay, so, but they are doing. They've always done some limited cardboard, whatever. I thought, you know, I said it'd be nice. That would be a place to start with food waste. I can't imagine the food waste. I can't imagine. So
yeah, it might be hard with young kids actually to do that. Just having witnessed a high school that started doing it a few years ago, and even that could be, it's got to be watched and monitored so they're not just throwing anything in the
Yes.
bins for the food waste, obviously.
Right,
But I
you're right.
wonder if the middle school, um, as a science kind of a project, they've got, don't they have a garden at the middle school?
Yes, they
did.
do. Yes.
So I wonder if they do any composting there, if that's a place to kind of talk more about composting with the older kids.
Yeah, they might. I can't remember when I've seen containers up there, so that's good. I can touch base. I'll touch base with them and see what's going on at the middle
Oh,
school. They have
Okay, you don't mind doing that too? Okay,
no.
great.
They have a great, they have a wonderful garden, and I'm not sure who's doing it right now. So, okay, I can do that for sure, absolutely.
Okay,
And then I'll
great.
talk to Beth and see if she wants to arrange. It'll have, it won't. Earth Day is like the 22nd. The kids are on vacation that week, so it won't be it won't be on Earth Day. So it doesn't matter. Sorry, it doesn't matter really what day we do it. So I'll talk to her and get back to the committee.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that brings us on to talking about those bins.
Well,
What are some thoughts on that? Go ahead,
I
Nathan.
guess that's me again. We got some prices on toters. There are 3 different sizes. They go 35 gallon, 65 gallon, and 95 gallon. The 65 gallon is probably where we'd want to be in size, give you enough room to do something with them. They're running around $59 to $60 a piece. There's a minimum order of the 65s where you have to order 648, which is a tractor trailer truckload. You can order obviously more, and the pricing would change some. They did warn us about the very volatile market right now and on pricing on this stuff. I think if you're going to try to push the recycling harder, I think that the totes are going to be a very important part of that, and it would also set us up to at some point getting us closer and closer to that automated system. My thought, and I said this the last time we talked about this, was the residents would have to pay for them. We'd order them and then resell them to the residents at our cost. It's a big step, and it's a lot of money. It's 80 some odd $1,000, I think, for the one order.
Right, but the towns that went to automation, I believe they built that in and provided them. I'm not saying that we need to do that, but that's what they did, I believe.
Yeah, it was kind of a mix. Wyndham looks like that they're going to have to purchase.
Oh, okay.
They're going to have to purchase both the recycling and the MSW receptacles.
I'm pretty sure Scarborough provided them.
Yeah, Scarborough might have provided them. Westbrook never got back to me this week on what they did, but they've been in that automated system now for 7 or 8 years now. But they're and when you go through Westbrook, they're all clearly marked Town of Westbrook, so I would assume that the city owns them.
So Nate, on those totes, are those just are those the covers on wheels?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
They don't want us to use the open tubs anymore.
No. And the ones that she priced me were 50% recycling. I believe it was they're made out of 50% recycling product. They're pretty tough. We have yet to wreck one in town here. We've got a few people around that have them. I have them.
I have one.
And Dawn has one, and they're pretty rugged. They take a complete thrashing.
18 years, no issues.
And they have a logo on them, recycling. Logo.
Yes, you can do whatever you want, either recycling or trash. You can put the Town of Raymond on them or Casella Waste or whatever. Please put stuff in this and whatever you want, really. And I believe there was different colors. You can get green, brown, and I don't know what the other color was. If she told me, I don't think she put it in her email. Blue, yep.
Recycling blue.
So Casella has those labels?
No, when you order them for, if you
Okay.
order a recycling tote, you tell them
Okay.
what you want on it.
This is a big step. I mean, if you make that recommendation, I mean, if you're going the way Nathan suggests, and it probably will work because people were, anxious to buy totes. They still ask about the totes, the tubs, if you will. some people ask about composters. If they're reasonably priced, and this seems like reasonably priced to me, they could be pitched as, you know, that this is going to be something that's going to be more secure, and you're not going to have less issues with, you know, debris and with blown over barrels. Of course, the durability issue that, I mean, as I said, mine's 18 years old. It's as good as the day I got it. They really are strong. And so then you're also, I don't know if this will appeal to people, but probably not, but if you'll be all set up to go when we go automation. But I think if they're 50 or 60 bucks, people might buy them.
I misspoke on that number. For the minimum load on the 65 gallon tugs, it's $38,800. So it's really, I mean, in the scheme of things, it's a bunch of money, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, the bigger issue for me would not be the money, although that's significant money. It would be, where would we store these things?
Yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
We've got room down the sand, in the old sand salt building where the equipment is. We can make room for this program. I mean, we're not going to be storing them for a long time. I would like to think that we get them pre-ordered, or get a advertise it, say this is available. Even if you didn't sell them all, get a good portion of them sold, and then when they come in, they got to pay for them, and so it's just going to be there for a short period of time.
And we can buy a smaller order. We're just going to pay more, right? $112. 112 is the lowest order.
648 is a minimum order.
What's this 112 on her email? What's that about?
112.
It says if the town was to go for minimums, 112 of a particular style, this pricing would change.
Correct, because I had originally asked for a minimum of 100. What she said is the pricing above includes transportation is based on a full truckload quantity, and that's where I got that from. The 95s is 720 in a truckload. The 65s is 648. The town was going to go for minimums of 112. Pricing could change. So you're right.
Right. I'm saying I don't see us getting 600. We're probably going to have to pay a higher rate and get a smaller order, I'm thinking. I mean, I remember when you and I used to go to New Hampshire and get the tubs. How many of those did we get at a time? Do you remember?
A couple, 300, I think, on the truck.
300? Okay.
Yeah. But you could stack those. Those would go on pretty good. I would do a sample and find out how many people would be interested in it.
That's a good idea.
So how do you propose doing that? You saying get some of them and see and advertise about them, and then just go get a bigger order if people start to ask for them?
Well, what I was thinking of a sample was maybe put out an advertisement. How many people would be interested in this if we did it? I mean,
I want to.
Could we,
That
Bob
brings us-
wants to.
So do we need to survey to do that though? Or you talked last time about how few people respond to surveys, and even just getting a survey out.
Yeah, that's true.
We could, I don't know how this will go, but we see citizens all day, every day, all day long. If we had the clerks ask them that question. Just an idea.
Yeah, we do like a questionnaire at the front office.
So what do I think?
Can you Nate, can you get one to put in the town office?
I could probably get one from Pine Tree, one of theirs, and set it in the front office.
Yes, because that would be great if
Yep.
they can look at it right there and then sign up for one of these, whatever. At least start in the town office.
What I can do too, and I didn't think to ask her, I can find out lead time on this, how long it would take to get them, how this all works, because this was really kind of vague.
Garden Plus Marketplace. Turn your garden dreams into reality. March 25th, 27th at Townsend.
So it is a lot of money, not to mention storing them until they're sold. I just don't know how. I mean, yeah, you see people coming in and out of town hall, and you could kind of survey that way, but you're not seeing everybody coming in and out of town hall. I don't know. Is there some other way to get a sense of how many, so that we really kind of, I don't know. Karen, go ahead.
Put it in the Roadrunner possibly?
Yeah, put it in the Roadrunner, put it on TV.
Right, TV, have a picture of it on the, on our channel. Are we gonna have an open town meeting this year, John?
No, we're gonna have a referendum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But on election day, could
Yeah,
have,
you could put something, yeah, you
could
could put
kind of
something in
make
the
it
school.
visible
election.
there.
Let's put one out when they vote, and are voting, in June. We
Yeah.
vote in June, right? Yeah, so we should have something there too, when
Yeah.
people come in.
Yeah, there are rules, of course, on placement, which you may be aware of. Have you worked the polls?
Yeah. But I
So
mean,
think
now,
she had- well, Sue looks right here. Sue can
Yeah,
tell
you're
you
gonna get Sue
what
looking
you
at
can
it.
do.
put it outside the door or something. I don't know, someplace that we
Yeah,
can have.
Sue knows. She'll be here in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, but that would be a place to really have people, you know, I don't know if that's gonna be too late, but order them. Sue,
So, yes.
where can we
What
put
are
it?
the rules about having, some information at the polls?
We can't have that kind of information at the polls. It would need to be after the voters vote, down by where the petitioners are, basically. We'd want to have something on it that said, please don't throw your trash in here because it's the trash can. And people have just gotten dum-dums usually from voting. So we'd want to be a bit careful with that. As long as there was some signage there, if it became a problem, I'd just move it, but it shouldn't become a problem. It should, and we could have a sign-up sheet there. You wouldn't necessarily have to have it manned. It would just be like a clipboard or something that people could say, yes, I'm interested. Here's my email address or something.
Great idea.
I'd be interested to man it. I'd man it.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So we could, on the exit going out of the gym, so we could have a little display of the recycling. We've done that
Oh, yeah.
way back. And we
Yeah,
could put
the
that-
library used to have to do stuff like that. Yeah. Karen, the one difficulty with you doing that is you're going to be on the ballot.
Oh, sorry. Whoops.
But we'll have the brochures there, right, for people to pick up as well, so they can, put this on your page.
And if I could throw in one little or on the brochures, if they're going to be folding, if they could third fold, and that way they fit in our brochure racks. And I don't know if they do intend to fold them or not, but that's just my 2 cents.
Good idea.
Good idea.
Well,
Can
that
I-
helps with distributing the brochures a lot too, as well as having some around town. And as far as printing the brochures, we didn't really talk about that, because that's a cost too. But is that something the town can absorb, or?
Well, we have to get a price and, we don't have an abundance of undedicated funds, but I think that probably we can find that money.
Okay, all right.
Can a member of the public ask a question during the meeting, or do I have to wait till the end?
The public comment is at the end, but
Okay,
I
that-
think
that's
it
fine.
makes sense to ask now. Is that okay with everybody if we?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, a friend of my daughter's works for Casella, and he's in a supervisory position. And he said, as far as the totes go, stay away from the small one, the 30+ gallon one.
35-gallon one.
They break constantly. The 96-gallon ones are too heavy for most people to handle properly. He said they have the best results with the ones that was it 65 gallon?
65 gallon totes, correct.
Also, can Nathan, can you get the dimensions of that? We have an old Tupperware bin that holds 2 large Tupperware totes. Those totes are 25 years old and they're falling apart at this point. So we're looking to replace. We don't want to buy something that won't fit in the like little shed that was made by Tupperware.
Thank you.
Yes, I can get the dimensions of that. I can actually send you a picture of them, Bob, if you've got a, yeah, I can get you, I got a picture of the ones at my place. I've got a 96 gallon and a 65 gallon. But I can get you the dimensions of those.
That would be great.
Okay, so that's great, Nathan, that was already kind of what you were looking at was the 65 ones,
Right,
right? So
yeah.
perfect, thank you.
So Grace,
Yeah,
with the totes I sent out, with the stuff I sent out, some prices of availability. While I think what Nate's doing is the way to go, I think we're gonna have some taxpayers say $65 to $70 for a tote is more than they're going to spend. So maybe we have another option, or just say in our brochures, totes are available, you know, Amazon, you can get a tote for $15. You're gonna replace it every year, but is there any concern with folks that it's gonna be too expensive for people?
Go ahead, Grace, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Nathan.
My concern with the lighter duty totes, Kathy, is we get bagged 2, 3, 4 times a year with, I bought a $5 tote from Walmart and it's destroyed and you've got to replace it. I do agree with you. Yeah, there are going to be people that are going to pitch a fit. And they're not going to want to pay anything. They're going to want the town to pay for them. But I think there's a balance there somewhere where if we start giving stuff away, where do you draw the line on that? And where do you say, if they go to the automated system, they're not going to have a choice. If they go to the automated truck, they have to be those totes for the truck to pick them up. So I guess that's
So,
up against at some point. Maybe not at this juncture, but at some point we're going to be up against that.
I mean, in thinking about it, the less expensive ones that you have to replace more frequently, we're just, you know, we're
Yeah.
just getting more plastic that we're not recycling with
Right.
those bins. So I wonder if, as people sign up, if we get people to sign up, yes, I'd like one, and I'd also purchase one for someone who can't afford it, and so kind of do it that way. I mean, I'd be glad to buy one for us and then purchase one for another household for somebody that would like one and can't. I don't know if that will work, but that might help some folks, because you're right, it's pricey.
I think that's a great idea, but then who says who can't afford it and who can?
Yeah.
Because if you know, that there are a lot of people who could afford stuff that will gladly take it for free if you're gonna buy it for them.
That's true.
I think you can get a good readout on that if you can get somebody other than Karen, I guess, because of her running for office, but somebody to man that table with a container and ask the question, you know, would you be willing to buy it? Here's what it costs, and explain where we're going with, you know, recycling. I think you'd get a good snapshot of what people would think about that.
I'm not on the committee, but I'd be willing to devote 4 or 5 hours to that.
You might end up on the committee, Bob, with the rate you're going. But no, seriously, thank you. That would be great. Especially if it helps to get people to get these. I mean, that would be really helpul. Sorry, Sue, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, go ahead.
I'm not being the protocol here. I'm not raising my hand. Yeah, and Sue I usually work at the polls, so we have shifts, so I'll be up there, but I can also take some time to do that too, to cover. So yes, we need, especially during the busy time, and Sue knows exactly when those times are, so I mean, that's when it'd be good to have somebody there when there's when it's really busy.
If you're buying totes, and many people do on a regular basis, if they buy the cheap ones, and they're not $5, they're $25, yeah, or more sometimes if you buy them at a big box store, Walmart. So here you go, you can, for twice that, you got something that theoretically is going to be, absent some real serious act of God or whatever, you're going to have it for a long time.
So I guess, I don't know if we need the information about other totes on a brochure there, but maybe the information about the ones that the town's recommending, if that's what we're kind of agreeing on recommending. It's not requiring, although it sounds like at some point it will be required, but we don't know when that will happen, and it could be a while for that. So maybe that's a way to go.
We could always update the totes and the websites once the flyers, once we get that information
Okay,
finalized.
so it sounds like getting at least some samples and then kind of asking the question at town hall, and then again, election day, it's not that far away. And it's getting a sense of how many and then order them. But if you could, meanwhile, Nathan, find out what you said before, how long would it take to get them once
Yeah.
they're ordered? And if it's going to be a long time, then if there's a way to find the money to purchase at least some up front so people start getting them sooner and then do a second order, I think that would be great if that's possible.
Yeah, I'll ask the question about the 112 and maybe I can get down to get it to a definite number of what the per unit cost is going to be if we go down to 112.
Because the sooner people start seeing them around town, the more people will potentially want them. And again, I understand that that's going, on the recycling part of it. And so I wanted to ask about the composting bins. Is that something as well to ask people?
And I'll ask Casella about
Okay.
the recycling bins too. I mean, the compost.
Okay.
I was going to ask Nathan about the policy. You want to come away after all of this with some sort of policy for the select board to adopt?
Yes, I think that's going to be even on both ends on the recycling. I think this is part of the building the recycling policy and something to address curbside collections and what we expect from the residents. In the contract with Casella, it's spelled out what they want, and we have got nothing to enforce it with.
So, you pretty much know, do you want help with that to do?
No, I think Melissa and I can get it done up to the town office and get it written up what we want on the MSW side. Recycling is going to be up to this committee as what the recommendations are going to be.
Okay.
And we can get together with that and patch them in together.
So that brings us up to, I think, next steps, unless there's something else first. So could I suggest, certainly I'm glad to take a look at what's on the website. I looked at that months ago when we first started meeting, and take a look at what a suggestion might be for recommendations to update that just for the select board. Don, go ahead.
I just want to let Nathan know, the place we used to go get the totes in Raymond, New Hampshire?
Yep.
They're a Rayrig, however you say it, Pacific Company distributor. So they sell what Casella is recommending. We could call them.
Yeah, we'll call them direct, take Casella right out of the equation on that.
And I was trying to get a price, but of course they're commercial units, so they're not showing the price, they're just showing the specifications. But that company we've done business with.
Okay.
Okay, so next steps, who's going to follow up with a couple of things in the schools, and Casella as well? And I'll take a look at the information that's there as far as recycling that's on the website and what recommendations we might make. I'll just suggest them to the rest of you, but others feel free to take a look as well, to select board in terms of a policy. Kathy is working still on finalizing or doing some more work on the brochures and things, and videos, possibly. If we made our own video, if anybody's up for it, that could be shown. I mean, maybe we get some school kids to take that as a project too. That would be received better than, I would think, if it's students. People love seeing the kids on TV. I don't know what that would take, but maybe that's a part of, you want to also talk to the schools about that too and see if there's a way that some group of kids might want to do a project.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And it could be, older kids too, even if they're at Wyndham High School, Raymond kids that, talking about Raymond, or it could be a mixture of kids. It doesn't have to be one town or the other. They're all going to be talking about recycling at some point, right? If Wyndham's looking at some new things.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll talk to Raymond, the Jordan Small and RES for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's see. And maybe just some other, what other next steps might there be?
Oh, Don, do we still have a videographer for the town?
Well, we got one tonight, it looks like.
Okay, I
We
mean,
don't
somebody
have,
that,
we don't have a whole bunch of videographers now.
no,
We're advertising constantly for videographers.
all right, but there was a gentleman that lives in Raymond that used to do it for the town.
Bill Blood.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I know him, so maybe I'll ask him if he's interested in helping with a video. I'll
Well, that's
ask.
what he does. Actually, tell you the truth, we have
Very
money budgeted and we did these little video vignettes. Kathy Goslin was part of it. I think all of the department heads did
Yep.
them. They're very old now. I want them down. I'd like to do a whole new round. I have money to do that.
You do?
Yeah, and Bill, I think Bill wants to do that, but it's kind of, getting the thing going.
Okay,
So we kind of maybe reach out to him. I don't know if Sue has something on that, but we have the
Yes,
ability.
Bill's doing tonight's meeting. Hey,
Okay.
Bill, do you want to pipe up?
oh,
Sure.
there he is, all right.
She's getting blocked from accessing her own bank account.
Don't know if he's,
I'm not sure what that is in the background. Yeah, I can help out with the videos. It's not a problem. I've actually been writing ideas down throughout this entire meeting. So I'd love to get
Great.
together with you and go over it.
Great.
excellent.
Great,
That's
thanks.
great.
Thank
Well, that
you.
worked out. Thank you. So I just had a couple of other things that to keep in mind about maybe, I don't know, down the road a little bit. One of them quite literally down the road. What Nathan started off with is one of the barriers, the camp roads, and thinking about some ways to help address that barrier. The issue of summer residents. I think somebody had the idea there of being sure that some of the folks that rent the summer places have brochures and have that information could certainly help. But there may be some other things to do. And let's see, is there something to incentivize folks to compost or to, I mean, obviously the incentive is to keep the cost down for the town. That's a pretty good incentive, but something that an individual might feel is an incentive to do it. I just a topic. I don't have an idea on that, but if there's some way to incentivize people doing this and doing it better, that would be great. And I think the only other thing we haven't touched upon was part of the reason that I thought this committee was formed was because of sort of the myths that were out there about recycling. And we still perhaps need to educate and dispel some of those. I know that just watching the adult ed videos, the sessions they had on the Wyndham Raymond adult ed things that some of us listened to certainly dispelled some of the myths. Yes, there is a market for some items. Yes, it fluctuates, etc. But it really, in terms of items that you can and can't recycle, that might be just an ongoing piece of communication. And that was about it. I think we've covered the other things that I had kind of jotted down in my notes. Any others have some ideas? Okay, so we put down as the proposed next meeting, April 21st, which is the day before Earth Day. So wear your green, I guess. I don't know. Does that work for folks?
It's fine for me. School, it is school, no, I don't think, it's school vacation week, but I don't think that's a major problem for any of us.
Is it a
Maybe.
problem for anyone?
Fingers crossed, knock on wood, we will have completed our work and we will have already had statutory adjournment, but statutory adjournment is the 20th. And so I'll say tentatively, I have nothing scheduled, but you never know.
Okay, I understood. So we'll go with April 21st and hope that Rolf can also be there. We'll see how all of that goes. Don, seems okay with you? Okay.
Good with me.
Okay.
Do we want to continue with the Zoom meeting or do we wait and decide later?
Well, that decision is probably going to be revisited by the Board of Selectmen. And so all the town committees have followed the selectmen's lead. And so I think they're probably going to look at that again soon.
Okay, I hear you.
So
Okay.
it's kind of a rolling issue. And interestingly, we're not seeing, and Kathy can speak to this, you know, a complete, I guess, subsiding of the pandemic in locally. And we have people who are right in our organization who are, you know, suffering from COVID-19 now, despite double vaccination and boosters. So I don't know what, she's our health officer. We'll be looking at it.
Yeah, and I think we all have to be concerned with this new variant. You know, they talked about it being in Japan right now and China and how crazy it is, but it's also in Maine, and 35% of the new cases in Maine of this new variant. So we're not out of the woods yet, unfortunately.
And
Well, given
the people that I know who have gotten it despite the vaccinations are very sick, some of them.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Yeah, they are at least saying that the under 5 vaccinations might be out by the end of next month. So that also does help a bit. I mean, we'll see. I think it, as you already said, it's just going to have to be a decision that's made as we are going forward.
Most of the people I know personally are over 60, so it's really hard on older people.
Yeah. All right, but we'll plan on that date, and we'll see whether it's in person. Sue, excuse me, Karen, do you have everything that you need with?
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody, anything else? So, any public comment?
I'm commented out.
Okay, thank you.
Does Bob Jones want to be on the committee?
At this point, Don, no.
Okay, all right.
All right, well, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks for joining us, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks, Representative Fay, for tuning in after a long day. I'm sure everybody's had a long day, right? So, any other comments from the committee? I
Okay.
think
Kathy, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Kathy, I have a question for Kathy. You mentioned a place where people, for shoes, that people want to donate shoes.
That was the PTA that said they were going to do that. I haven't seen anything more about it. Someone spoke at a meeting about it.
Did you say shoes?
Yeah, the PTA was going to do a fundraiser where they, for every pound of shoes they donate to a third world country, they get money back. But I haven't seen, it was supposed to be a PTA project.
All right, okay. All right, thank you. I remember that a long time ago and then somebody asked me about it, so I finally remembered to ask you. Thanks, Kathy.
Yep.
I'd be up for that. I have a bad habit of buying boots and shoes, so I've got some.
I think all of us probably have a few too many.
Right.
Okay, if there's nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Kathy. Second?
Second.
Second, Sue. Any objection? Without objection, we are adjourned. I just want to thank everybody, including Bill and Bob and Sue Look as well for joining us this evening and making this happen. Thank you very much for the work we're doing. It's good work. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.